Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. Today I want to talk to you about Bitcoin, the ETF, the halving, the fundamental considerations for why we should be excited about cryptocurrency today. This touches on Splinterlands, of course. It applies to SPS, definitely. But we have to focus in on Bitcoin because it's the controller, the narrator, the driver for the marketplace. And I want to argue to you today that I'm not looking at fundamental justifications for why I want to hold these, not from the, on the days, weeks, months scale. I don't need to look at ETFs or halvings to anticipate gains. I look long time horizon and I think to myself, Bitcoin is an amazing hold because it's limited in number, because it's revolutionary, because it's changing finance. And for the same reasons, I'm excited about things like blockchain-based video games because of how they change ownership, they change the reward structure and the incentives for playing. They're connected and they're both revolutionary and I'm on board with them, but it's not because of short-term expectations or fundamental events that are about to transpire. Adoption, ETFs, halving. I don't look at those and I think it's white noise. If you're thinking long term like I am, you know that the only real question is how can I get more? Not should I get more today? Should I get more tomorrow? How do I get more, period? And so that's what I want to talk about today. I hope you'll stick around and stay tuned with me. This was a live event from a recent members only live. If you want to be present when I record these things, consider supporting the YouTube channel. Check out my membership page and see if you want to get involved at various levels. All those people are invited to come to my live events. Plus there's lots of member only content that they get access to that you never do. Thank you very much to my members. Thank you guys for viewing. Like and sub if you're interested. Have an amazing day. God bless. Yesterday was funny with the Bitcoin, the fake out. The ETF passed and then it didn't. I don't know if you guys saw, but somebody put Bitcoin into Satoshi Nakamoto's wallet. BTC deposited into Nakamoto's wallet. Crypto user sent $1.2 million in Bitcoin to Bitcoin creator Satoshi Nakamoto's Genesis wallet days after the 15-year anniversary of the network. This transaction bewildered crypto enthusiasts, and with some speculating about the spot Bitcoin ETF marketing stunt or pressure to reveal Nakamoto's identity due to tax rules. No one knows what this really was. We don't know if it was a donation. That's what some people are saying. Others are like, maybe this is Nakamoto. You have to wonder, why would somebody drop $1.2 million into a wallet they don't control? But then also, if you were able to print money like some US government, this is my speculation, but some entity that doesn't want Bitcoin to be adopted, that wants to cast doubt on this space. If you had money that you print, because you print money, you have central bank, and you seize Bitcoin through different legal operations, which the government does at times, you could imagine them consolidating 1.2 million in Bitcoin and then just putting it into Nakamoto's wallet strictly to imply Nakamoto's still out there. And that might mean what? He could liquidate 1 million Bitcoin on our heads. And what would that do to the market? To stir that idea could be part of why somebody would do this. Who knows if this is benevolent or if this is nefarious? I don't know if this is a good person or a black hat or a white hat, but I guess it's certainly interesting. And add that together with the ETF stuff and how there probably is going to be a Bitcoin ETF, and everybody seems to think it's going to be a beneficial boon to Bitcoin. I'm not convinced about that. We've had ETFs already. We have ETFs already. And like in the past, we talked about this. When it comes, it's going to be institutional adoption. It's going to mean billions of dollars. And like all of the, public pensions are just going to dump every penny into Bitcoin. To me, that just seems like nonsense. It seems like opium. Why would, just because there's an option, suddenly they're going to come kicking in the doors? I don't buy that. I mean, does it mean some new adoption? Probably. But you know what it also means? It means some degree of manipulation. Because if you look at what happens with silver, this happens all the time. Like there is absolutely an effort to manipulate down the price of silver, to subdue it, to hold it at certain levels. by the American market that trades the SLV. It's an ETF for silver, and what they do is they print X amount of paper certificates that represent silver ownership, and they sell those papers of certificates to those who are interested in owning silver. This is just a derivative, and so is an ETF of Bitcoin. It's just a derivative. It's another way to hold the thing that you want to hold but you don't hold. So holding Bitcoin means having keys and having Bitcoin on that wallet. But with ETFs, you get this ease and this convenience. You get this other person is going to be this this holder of it. They're going to figure that stuff out. I just give them my money and sort it out. That's a derivative. It's not like true ownership of Bitcoin in the same way SLV is not true ownership of silver. But the marketplace gets manipulated. The price gets held down by certain interests that want to accumulate real silver. That's what happens with JP Morgan. They buy up real coins and they sell these paper certificates, and they become truly richer. And then truly, if there's ever a bank run, they'll be the ones that benefit because they've sold 200 pieces of paper. Last I checked, this was years ago, by the way, 200 pieces of paper per ounce of silver that they own. Can you imagine if you could sell t-shirts and you print t-shirts and you could sell 200 of them at $20 a pop for every one that you made? Like, you literally have to deliver one to John, and then you get to sell 200 more, $20 a pop, same t-shirt. Somehow you're giving it to John and Jim and Jane, and 200 different people own that same piece of silver, that same t-shirt, or whatever the thing you make is. It's ludicrous. But this is just derivatives. And this is what they do because they want to maximize their gain. I mean, centralized powers, people that are big players in money, they want to centralize their powers. That's why ETFs are desirable. That's why BlackRock wants to do this stuff, because they want to centralize power and authority of these things. They want to benefit from our lack of expertise with engaging in it. You don't want to hold Bitcoin, but you're curious about Bitcoin. Let me do that for you. Let me do that hard stuff about figuring out, custody and storage, and that's above you. You're not smart enough for that. Just give me your money and I'll figure it out. And in some sense, that will open the door to some adoption that would never happen. I believe that. But you absolutely have to hold on to the truth that will open some doors for adoption. And you also have to recognize that there is absolutely a path for manipulation wrapped up in this. So I'm not particularly bullish about these ETFs. And this moment feels particularly interesting as we look at stuff like this. Like, what's going on right now? As we look at inflation lately, as we look at, what the SEC has done. The SEC got hacked, and their X account was saying that the ETF passed and then didn't. It's just a very interesting moment in history as we within the crypto space are wrestling for, what's that word? Like, acceptance? Adoption, yes. But even acceptance. And I think it's going to come. But I think moments that we expect to be catalyst, to be sort of a moon mission moment, maybe like the ETF, are often not. And maybe it's like Lamb 1.5. And maybe it's like, because there are different moments and there are different things where we've laid heavy burden on them. We expect it to be this really special thing that transforms the entire, whether it's a token you love or a game you love, or you think this next move is going to change everything. I think there's a desire for us to believe those things sometimes. We get caught up in that storyline. And I wonder if that's what's happening in this moment. We'll see. I hope I'm wrong. But even if Bitcoin doesn't go shooting to the moon in the next coming days because of anything like that, this is exciting. These green candles over here are exciting. There's action to be had within the altcoin market, even while Bitcoin is stagnant or falls back. In fact, it would be okay from an altcoin perspective if Bitcoin went into full retracement, like pulled back and kind of ended its bull market. Like, if this was just the tail ends of the long, Bitcoin made it to 65, fell back down to 18, pumped up to 48 or 50 or whatever, and now bled out for the next 4 years anyways. That could be exactly what's happening. And that would not be bad for the altcoins, because during the last major bull market, if you look at XRP, we go all, this boom happened when Bitcoin was falling. That's what happens with altcoins. When Bitcoin is finally done, when Bitcoin is finally entering retracement, these sorts of parabolic moves that change lives, that like tens of thousands of percent, happen in some of the altcoins. Not every altcoin, and I'm not even saying necessarily XRP will see it again. I do believe in XRP, but maybe I'm talking generally about what can happen to altcoins during a full retracement. And so this is an exciting moment. But is it now? Is it in hours, days, weeks, months, or years away? I don't know. So I just, like with Splinterlands, as with other crypto, I just kind of make my bed and I lie in it and I wait and see what comes. Blaze says the ETF is official. I thought there were no BTFs yet. There is a bit here. I'll show there. Bitcoin ETF Canada. I'm pretty sure we have one in Canada. Look at this. There's Purpose Bitcoin ETF. My buddy at work was just telling me about this one. It's like $9 or $10 to buy essentially like fractions of it. And like it's like buying a share. So it looks like these are all different ETFs within Canada. I'm not endorsing these. I'm just saying that they exist. And then the new one, was the new one passed? I don't know if the new one is done or not. Last I heard, they were fighting about what the fees would be, and it needs to be finalized. But anyways, I think it's inevitable that more and more of that happens. I don't see it as the massive home run that many people do. I don't see why it would be. It's a derivative. It's not people owning, it's not more and more people buying into crypto. It's more and more people buying into centralized entities that promise them investment strategies. That is not the heart of a crypto degen. That's not the heart of what crypto even really means to offer. Own your own assets. That's what crypto is supposed to be. And those who desire that learn how to navigate private keys, public keys, etc. And those who don't, wait for things like ETFs. Are they ever going to be the sort of people that really adopt this stuff? I don't know. I'm not convinced. And I didn't say hi to Blaze, but Blaze, thanks for popping by, bud. What's this here? Now SEC main page listed it and now it's gone. Approved, dude. We can move on to halving. Yes, I need more vouchers. Yeah, the halving too. That's the other side. Like that's another narrative everyone's sharing. It's going to transform, and once we have, it's like huge price bump, like moon mission incoming. Maybe those aren't, maybe I'm exaggerating, but I do feel that's the sentiment. Like I think ETF and halving have been the narrative for 6 months to 12 months. I'm at a place in my life within my crypto journey where I'm done believing that fundamentals drive this space. I am convinced that we come up with fundamental explanations for the price action, meaning price goes up. We look around and we say, hey, that must be it. Here's the one thing I see in front of me that caused this. And so we make fundamental explanations retroactively after price movements happen, up or down. It's less about fundamental considerations and it's more about FOMO. It's more about sentiment. When sentiment shifts, price move. When price moves, we point to whatever justification we can hold up to explain why price moves. Because we are creatures that desire to find justification, logic within what we perceive. That's just human nature. You know, we find patterns sometimes where there are none. But I do believe, for all that, you might think, oh, so what? You have no confidence that the crypto is going to go up? No, I feel pretty confident because I think it's revolutionary. I think it's adding something new and interesting to blockchain-based video games, to finance, to business, to, you know, the internet. And so I have confidence in this technological revolution, but I don't know timing. And so I just acquire more and more as I can, and then I wait and see. And if I'm totally wrong, I'll take a big financial L. But if I'm right, I'm going to benefit in an outsized way. Places is not price pump, it's supply and demand. I think you're saying that as things like, I think you're specifically talking about the halving, and you're saying that as there's less Bitcoin being created, there's going to be, if there's the same demand as there was yesterday, that the price will go up necessarily. And superficially, that statement is correct, because supply and demand decide the price of anything, including Bitcoin. But you have to get more granular than that, because it's not as simple as when there is half of the Bitcoin being created, price will double. That would be a logical statement you could make. If there is 10 Bitcoin every 10 minutes, today, I think it's less, I forget the numbers now, but if there was 10 every 10 minutes now, and after the halving, there's 5 every 10 minutes, then there's half the number of Bitcoin being created. And you should say that might logically imply a doubling of price, because Bitcoin is desired at this threshold, and now you've cut the support or the supply of it in half. That means price doubles. Maybe you would suppose. I think it's far more complicated than that, because demand is always wavering. It's ebbing and flowing. That's part of one. And also supply is ebbing and flowing. Supply doesn't just come to market because of the brand new Bitcoin being minted. These principles that I'm talking about apply to Splinterlands. So don't just think about it like I'm talking about Bitcoin. I'm talking about cards. I'm talking about, you know, one card. I'm not just talking about like Chaos Legion or Rebellion. I'm talking about like get granular, like look at one card. It's not just how many new cards are being created. It's how many are coming to market. And that is a far more complicated conversation, because it's, whether you're looking at Bitcoin or any other token or any NFT, it's these things ebb and flow. And so it's absolutely possible that even in the middle of a halving of Bitcoin, that there is an introduction of new Bitcoin to the marketplace that was previously off in wallets, and now it's being sold for a variety of reasons. Look at the global financial crisis. Look at, you know, massive inflation. Look at, in my mind, like an economic depression that is like looming. I can absolutely, and I'm not saying, I'm not predicting this, but I am saying there's a complicated conversation that is deeper than supply and demand mean Bitcoin will double or go up when after the halving. That is a really simplistic comment on the conversation. You're not wrong. It's just there's more to the story. And if you start to look at the multi-factor sort of considerations, including the global economy, including the proclivity for a literal Great Depression in 2024, and you look at the government saying that they're going to cut rates, and they're going to almost certainly start printing money again, and they're going to not only start quantitative easing, but end quantitative tightening. All of this means like a total transformation on things like inflation. Maybe it means, you know, it can have these massive ramifications for the stock market, for housing, for sustainable living. If there's businesses that are failing because they become non-profitable, what does that mean for employment? What does that mean for liquid cash in the hands of Americans and citizens around the world? How does that play into it? So there's actually I just think it's far more complicated, and we want these simple black and white answers. After the halving, price goes up. Maybe. It's certainly the case that there will be less every 10 minutes, but that doesn't mean there's not enough on the marketplace or that can come to the marketplace. And as we've seen more and more institutional adoption over the last however many years, some of these major entities, even Tesla got involved in accepting Bitcoin for a season, and they acquired a ton of Bitcoin. And you think to yourself, wow, this is great. It's like these big entities are acquiring and locking up Bitcoin. Okay, are they? They sold it within the same year, I think. And that's one example, but man, you can point to other cryptos too. When the SEC came after XRP and Ripple, what ended up happening was that Coinbase and custodial solutions for XRP, which existed in certain banks that were partnering with Ripple, they just closed the doors. They liquidate millions and billions in dollars worth of the token. And so you think to yourself, there's a lack of supply for your favorite coin in Bitcoin. But then what if there was some sort of moment like that where the government tried to close doors on something like that? They haven't given. I know there's been implications like Bitcoin will never be pursued by the government. I don't buy the government's promises. So if you start to walk with a different degree of skepticism about the underlying foundational conversation that we might have, if we look at sort of the broader economy, you start to recognize that supply and demand is actually a deeply complicated conversation. It's not just how many are coming every 10 minutes from the mining process. It's how many are coming to market from those who are, were diamond hands and now are selling everything they've got. Because it can be a lot. You want institutional adoption. You want pension funds buying this stuff. You want ETFs buying this stuff. You want major companies holding this stuff. What happens when those diamond hands become, eager to sell? What does that do to the supply demand equation? And how does that crush the price? I'm telling you, it can happen, and it does happen in other spaces. So, and it has happened with other coins. So I don't know. I'm not saying I'm bearish. That's just, for me, that's just like the realistic kind of view of how complicated these things are. It's not easy to figure out, and if it was so easy as halving means price pump, halving means price appreciation, halving means gains, I think everybody and their dog would play that. So then when you start to say everyone knows a certain outcome, you know what they say? They say, buy the rumor, sell the news. And so it's the rumor or the moment of anticipation for a halving being this catalyst for price appreciation is probably already baked into the cake of the price already. It should be, because everyone knows it's coming. Unless it's a major surprise, it should just be baked into the cake. And so then how can you reconcile that with this idea that it's not just pump, it's supply demand, as you say, right? I think these are incongruent ideas, because I think the truth is it's the economy is more complicated than we imagine. The anticipation of certain expected outcomes get baked into the price cake, and then you need to expect dips in some situations, even when bullish narratives unfold, because it's already been bought and rised up over the last 6-12 months, right? How much is the Bitcoin going to 47,000 yesterday, between 15 or 18 or whatever it was in the last year? What is that, triple? Like tripled? How much of that tripling of Bitcoin price is actually just the Bitcoin halving appreciation? And have we already overshot the endpoint for it? I don't know. We'll know soon enough. And Blaze, if any of that sounds salty, spicy, I don't know, needlessly confrontational, I appreciate your view. I'm just saying, I think it's a bit, I am cautiously optimistic about the halving as well as the ETF. And I am not convinced that they will be the positive boon that some of us think they will. And that's okay with me, because I'm not here for days, weeks, months. I'm happy to sit for years. If I have to sit on my XRP bags for another 4 years, I will. If I have to play Splinterlands for another 5 years, I will. I'm not shaken by the short-term impediments to price gain. I believe we have something revolutionary here with respect to Bitcoin, with respect to blockchain, with respect to video games and NFT rewards within video games that merits my long-term confidence. And so I'm going to walk in that confidence irrespective of what the day-to-day price points might be, with the confidence that I'm going to one day see massive gains. And that's where it's like, do you want to position yourself today to see those realized gains eventually? Now, I might say tomorrow, but I don't mean literally 24 hours from today. I mean within the relative range of, 5 years is not a long time. If you have any of you have kids, if you've been married, it's like you've seen life go by in a blink, a decade. You've worked for a place for 20 years, maybe. It's like these things happen. So you just live, and suddenly you're 40. I'm 43 in 2 weeks. 43. I remember being 5 years old, sitting on my dad's knee. You know what I mean? It's like it just goes by, and so I don't need to stress about whether Bitcoin's going to go to 100,000 tomorrow. I don't need it to go to 100,000 tomorrow. I don't need my XRP bags to pump tomorrow. I don't need SPS or Splinterlands to go to the moon tomorrow. I believe in these things, and I'm going to hold and acquire these things until I see them be realized in the ways that I expect them to. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I see no reason to cast doubt, and yet I also see no reason to expect it to be tomorrow. It could be, but I don't need it to be, and I won't be shaken if it isn't. This is it. Blaze goes looking long, not daily. Like, it's true. The exciting point about crypto, about Bitcoin, is that there's not enough of it, that there's only so much of it. It's limited in number. So long term, super bullish. I feel the same way about Splinterlands, even with Chaos Legion, which most of you guys, or at least most of people who attend to Splinterlands, are going to say, too many of it, not going to be meaningfully appreciated later on. They messed up with chaos. And I say, limited in number, always decreasing. Packs are disappearing as they opened. Cards are being consolidated. Even those tokens will one day be far more expensive than you think, because I truly believe the free market will command that, because supply and demand does matter, and there will be a growth of demand as well as while there is a reduction in supply. Those same principles apply to why Bitcoin is so exciting and why I want more Bitcoin. But yeah, I am not trying to hold up this halving or any halving as this individual moment. I am just like, with respect to Bitcoin in particular, I want more of it, and I will buy more of it, and I will accumulate more of it, with this 50-year vision that economic financial revolution is happening in front of us. And I don't need it to be in the next weeks or days that there be something special happen. I believe this is different. I want to invest in it and let that realize something across time, across a long enough time horizon. That's how I feel about Splinterlands. That's how I feel about Bitcoin. That's how I feel about most of the crypto coins that I'm touching or invested in, or that I follow. I think they're different and special and revolutionary, and I want more of them, not less of them. But I think that the safer bet is that long time horizon, 10, 20, 30, 50 years from now. If I have Bitcoin, I'm going to feel good about that. If I have, Splinterlands asset in 5 years, I think I'm going to be very excited about that. I do think this game's going to be here in 10 years. I do think that the resources that you're earning, the SPS we talked about earlier and how they're worth 3 cents today, you're getting a few dozen from farming land. You're going to say to yourself, wow, you made dozens of SPS by farming land. I think that's going to happen. So it's awesome. I think it's exciting. But it's going to take years to realize those things. And until then, there's going to be a lot of voices who say, it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. It's, you had your chance. You blew it. The game sucks. No one plays it. Never going to. It's going to be naysayers and, doomers until we see those crazy green candles. And that's true for Splinterlands in the same way it's true for Bitcoin. Even though it's gone up to 48,000, 47 or whatever, there's still people who think this thing is going to zero. And only when it's this super established, you know, thing that has no more upside potential, relatively speaking, only then will those guys be like, yep, I believe in Bitcoin. You're talking like $1 million Bitcoin and you're like, yep, I believe in Bitcoin. Like the whole world owns some and now you're on board. Like you missed it, guys. Like not you guys, but you know what I mean? Those people with that perspective miss it. And, you know, man, I don't want to be that guy with Bitcoin. I don't want to be that guy with Splinterlands. I don't want to be that guy with, you know, crypto in general. I am going to try and go live tomorrow as well. I'm going to do a public live tomorrow. I needed to figure out my time a little bit because my boss wants to have a meeting. But I am going to do my best to do another 1 hour or even 2. So guys, thanks so much for your support. I appreciate you coming and hang out today. Thank you very much. Have an amazing day and I will see you tomorrow, or if not, very soon. Bye for now.